The movie opens with a scene from Wan-soo's childhood, showing her humble beginnings in a small rural village in South Korea. Born into a poor family, Wan-soo grows up facing hardship, especially when her mother becomes burdened with crushing debt. Despite these challenges, Wan-soo finds solace in golf, a passion she develops during her youth when she stumbles upon an old, neglected golf course. It is on these uneven grounds that she begins practicing her swings, dreaming of a better life. Her talent is undeniable, and after years of dedication she becomes a world-class golfer, rising to fame and earning the admiration of many. One of the people drawn to her is Kim Yong-guk, the charismatic and wealthy heir to the Hwain Group, one of South Korea's most powerful conglomerates. Attracted by her beauty, skill, and determination, Yongguk courts her, offering her not just love but the promise of security and wealth, an escape from her difficult life. Wan-soo's marriage and struggles. Despite her misgivings and feeling the weight of her family's financial burdens, Wan-soo agrees to marry Yongguk, hoping for a fresh start. However, married life is far from the fairy tale she had hoped for. While outwardly they seem to be the perfect couple, behind closed doors Wan-soo feels isolated and unfulfilled. She soon discovers that Yongguk is having an affair, a revelation that shatters her emotionally. For over a decade, Wan-soo endures this painful marriage, determined to keep up appearances for the sake of her family and the prestige of the Hwain Group. She throws herself into her duties as a socialite, golfer, and later, a goodwill ambassador. Yet, deep down she knows she is living a lie, trapped in a gilded cage. The story takes a dramatic turn when Wan-soo travels to Manila for the first time as part of her responsibilities as a goodwill ambassador. On what is supposed to be one of the most important nights of her career, she is unexpectedly caught in the middle of a violent gunfight. Chaos erupts around her, and just when it seems that her life is in danger, she is saved by a mysterious man named Seo Do-yoon, a former soldier and now a bodyguard. Do-yoon, assigned by the Hwain Group to protect Wan-soo, becomes her constant companion after the incident. He is calm, collected, and incredibly capable, and as they spend more time together Wan-soo begins to rely on him, both emotionally and physically. Growing affection. As Wan-soo and Do-yoon spend more time together in the aftermath of the Manila incident, an undeniable attraction develops between them. Do-yoon seems to understand her in ways that Yongguk never did, offering her quiet strength and support as she navigates the increasingly dangerous and complex world around her. Wan-soo starts to reflect on the choices she has made throughout her life, questioning whether she made the right decision to marry for money and security rather than love. Do-yoon, for his part, is a man of few words, but his actions speak volumes. He is fiercely protective of Wan-soo, but there is also a distance between them as though he is hiding something. Wan-soo begins to suspect that Do-yoon may have his own agenda. After all, he works for the Hwain Group, which makes her question his true motivations. Is his loyalty to her or to the powerful corporation that controls much of her life? Tension and suspicion. As the bond between Wan-soo and Do-yoon deepens, tensions rise in her marriage. Yongguk, despite his infidelity, notices the growing closeness between his wife and her bodyguard and becomes possessive. His jealousy adds further strain to their already fragile relationship, pushing Wan-soo closer to Do-yoon. Meanwhile, Wan-soo faces increasing pressure from the Hwain Group, whose interests in international politics and business come with dangerous entanglements. As she uncovers more about the inner workings of the Hwain Group and its ties to criminal elements, Wan-soo begins to fear for her safety. She realizes that her marriage and the corporate world she is tied to may be more corrupt and dangerous than she ever imagined. Wan-soo's transformation. The movie builds towards a climactic sequence in which Wan-soo must make a choice, whether to stay trapped in a life defined by deceit, wealth, and power or to break free, no matter the cost. Her growing feelings for Do-yoon complicate things, but at the same time, they give her the strength to stand up for herself and reclaim her life. In a powerful and emotional showdown, Wan-soo confronts Yongguk about his betrayal and his role in the corrupt dealings of the Hwain Group. She also questions Do-yoon's motives, demanding to know where his true loyalties lie. The film's tension reaches its peak as secrets are revealed, alliances are tested, and Wan-soo is forced to make life-altering decisions. Seo Do-yoon is introduced as a former elite soldier who now works as a bodyguard for the Hwain Group. His skills in combat and his calm, collected demeanor make him a formidable protector, but behind his stoic exterior lies a character with deep personal motivations and internal conflicts. Do-yoon's role as Wan-soo's bodyguard. From the moment Seo Do-yoon saves Wan-soo during the gunfight in Manila, his role in her life becomes central. At first, he is simply her bodyguard, a man hired to ensure her safety. However, Do-yoon is not just another employee of the Hwain Group, he is sharp, observant, and always one step ahead of any threat that might befall her. There is a sense that he is more invested in Wan-soo's well-being than is strictly professional, hinting at a deeper emotional connection that slowly develops over time. Do-yoon's personal conflict. One of the key mysteries surrounding Do-yoon is his true loyalty. On the surface he is working for the Hwain Group, the very company that embodies the power and privilege Wan-soo's marriage ties her to. However, Do-yoon's personal history and his experiences as a soldier have left him with a strong sense of justice and a reluctance to blindly follow orders. His growing feelings for Wan-soo place him in a difficult position. He must protect her while also navigating the dangerous waters of corporate politics and the hidden agendas of those who control the Hwain Group. Throughout the film, Do-yoon remains somewhat of an enigma. His actions suggest a man who is deeply principled and driven by a personal code of honor, but he rarely reveals his inner thoughts or feelings. His quiet strength and emotional restraint stand in contrast to the more volatile emotions of Wan-soo and Yongguk, making him a stabilizing force in Wan-soo's life. His relationship with Wan-soo. As Wan-soo's protector, Do-yoon becomes intimately familiar with the loneliness and pain she experiences in her marriage. He observes her struggles, her dignity in the face of betrayal, and her strength as she tries to maintain her composure despite her husband's infidelity. Over time, Do-yoon's admiration for Wan-soo turns into something deeper. There is a subtle yet palpable chemistry between them, built on mutual respect, shared glances, and moments of quiet understanding. However, Do-yoon's reserved nature and his sense of duty create a barrier between them. While Wan-soo begins to rely on him emotionally and physically, she is never entirely sure of his true motivations. This ambiguity adds to the tension of their relationship, as Wan-soo cannot fully trust that Do-yoon is working for her rather than for the interests of the Hwain Group. Do-yoon's character arc is one of internal conflict. He must decide whether to follow his duty to the powerful company that employs him or to act on his feelings for Wan-soo, which could jeopardize everything. Wan-soo's character is at the heart of Red Swan. Born into poverty, she rises to prominence as a world-class golfer, eventually marrying Kim Yong-guk, heir to the Hwain Group. However, her marriage and the life of luxury she once thought would bring happiness instead become a gilded cage. Wan-soo struggles with her marriage. Wan-soo enters her marriage to Kim Yong-guk out of a sense of obligation and financial necessity. She is motivated by a desire to pay off her mother's debts and provide for her family, but this decision comes at a heavy emotional cost. Yongguk's affair, which she discovers early in their marriage, devastates her. Despite this betrayal, she stays with him for over a decade, determined to uphold her responsibilities as a wife and socialite while maintaining the facade of a happy marriage. Wan-soo's strength is her ability to endure, but this endurance also causes her to suppress her true feelings. For years she lives with the pain of her husband's infidelity, her isolation from true emotional connection, and the increasing pressure from the Hwain Group to conform to their expectations. Her connection with Seo Do-yoon. Do-yoon's presence in Wan-soo's life awakens something in her that had long been dormant, her desire for genuine love, respect, and personal agency. His quiet, protective nature contrasts sharply with Yongguk's coldness and emotional neglect, and Wan-soo finds herself drawn to Do-yoon in ways she cannot ignore. He listens when others don't, offers her support when she feels abandoned, and most importantly, he sees her as more than just the wife of a powerful man. As their relationship deepens, Wan-soo is forced to confront her own feelings. She knows that her growing attachment to Do-yoon could destroy her already fragile marriage and possibly endanger both of their lives. Yet for the first time in years she feels a sense of hope and connection. Wan-soo's personal growth. Throughout the film, Wan-soo undergoes a journey of self-realization. Initially defined by her roles as a wife, socialite, and public figure, she slowly begins to reclaim her identity. She reflects on the choices she has made, both as a golfer who gave up her dreams for marriage and as a woman who stayed in a toxic relationship for the sake of family duty. Wan-soo's internal struggles ultimately push her to take control of her own life. By the end of the film, she is no longer content to be a passive participant in her own story. Her interactions with Do-yoon and her disillusionment with her marriage lead her to make bold decisions that redefine who she is and what she wants for her future. Kim Yong-guk, the neglectful husband. Kim Yong-guk, heir to the Hwain Group, is the antagonist of the film in many ways. His wealth and power make him a figure of immense influence, but his personal failings, especially in his marriage, cast a dark shadow over his character. Yongguk's ambition and power. Yongguk's main focus is the Hwain Group and its expansion. As the heir to one of South Korea's most powerful conglomerates, his entire identity is wrapped up in the corporate world. His marriage to Wan-soo serves more as a public relations move than a relationship built on love or partnership. Despite Wan-soo's sacrifices, Yongguk is distant and emotionally unavailable, more concerned with his business dealings and personal ambitions than his wife's well-being. His affair and Wan-soo's betrayal. Yongguk's infidelity is the central betrayal that drives a wedge between him and Wan-soo. His affair is not just an act of personal betrayal, but a reflection of his disregard for the sanctity of their marriage. He takes Wan-soo for granted, assuming that she will always be there, dutiful and compliant regardless of his actions. Even when he notices the growing closeness between Wan-soo and Do-yoon, his response is not one of regret or introspection. Instead, he becomes possessive and controlling, seeing Wan-soo as his property rather than as an equal partner. This toxic dynamic only deepens the emotional distance between them, making it clear that their marriage is built on fragile foundations. Yongguk's role in the Hwain Group's corruption. Yongguk is also deeply entangled in the Hwain Group's corrupt activities, including shady business dealings and political manipulation. His position of power makes him untouchable in many ways, but his moral compromises ultimately catch up with him. As Wan-soo begins to unravel the darker side of the company, Yongguk's true nature is revealed, not just as a neglectful husband, but as someone who is willing to sacrifice anyone, even his wife, to maintain his status. The love triangle and power struggle. The complex triangle between Wan-soo, Do-yoon, and Yongguk serves as the emotional and narrative backbone of Red Swan. Each character is bound by different forms of loyalty, love, and ambition, and these conflicting forces drive the tension throughout the film. Wan-soo's decision to marry Yongguk. Wan-soo's decision to marry Kim Yong-guk is motivated not by love, but by practicality and a sense of duty. Born into poverty, she had to struggle throughout her childhood, especially after her mother became burdened by debt. Despite her exceptional skills as a golfer, Wan-soo still felt the weight of her family's financial troubles, and her marriage to Yongguk seemed like a way out, a path toward security and stability for herself and her family. Wan-soo initially believes that marrying into the powerful Hwain Group will solve her problems. At first, it seems like a dream come true. She transitions from a life of hardship to one of luxury, surrounded by wealth and privilege. However, the emotional toll of this decision becomes clear soon after their marriage begins. Wan-soo's emotional isolation. Once married to Yongguk, Wan-soo quickly realizes that the life she imagined, one of emotional support and partnership, is far from reality. Yongguk is cold and distant, far more concerned with his business empire and social status than with his wife's happiness. He rarely shows affection or interest in her, and Wan-soo feels increasingly alone, even as she is surrounded by wealth and luxury. What makes Wan-soo's situation even more painful is her discovery of Yongguk's affair early on in their marriage. This betrayal shatters any hope she had of building a real emotional connection with him. Despite knowing about the affair, Wan-soo chooses to stay with Yongguk for over a decade. This choice is driven by her sense of duty, both to her mother, whose debts she needs to repay, and to her position as the wife of a powerful man. Her loyalty is not reciprocated, and over time she becomes more emotionally distant from Yongguk. The strain of public life. Wan-soo's role as the wife of Kim Yong-guk also comes with a public persona she is expected to maintain. She is constantly under scrutiny, whether as a former world-class golfer, a goodwill ambassador, or the face of the Hwain Group's philanthropic efforts. As a result, Wan-soo feels immense pressure to present herself as the perfect wife, a symbol of grace and success. This dual life, projecting an image of a happy, successful marriage to the public while privately enduring emotional neglect, takes a heavy toll on Wan-soo's mental and emotional health. Her isolation deepens, and she begins to question whether the sacrifices she made for the marriage were worth it. Kim Yong-guk, the powerful and neglectful husband. Yongguk's priorities. Kim Yong-guk's character is defined by his ambition and commitment to the Hwain Group. As the heir to one of South Korea's largest conglomerates, Yongguk is constantly consumed by the responsibilities that come with his position. He is driven by a need to expand the company's influence and secure his own legacy, and this ambition leaves little room for personal relationships. Yongguk's marriage to Wan-soo is less about love and more about status. He views her as a beautiful, accomplished woman who fits the image he wants to project as the heir to a corporate empire. Marrying Wan-soo, a world-renowned golfer, elevates his own image, and her public success reflects well on him. However, beyond this surface-level attraction, there is little emotional connection between them. His affair and Wan-soo's betrayal. Yongguk's infidelity is a key turning point in their relationship. From the start of their marriage, it is clear that Yongguk does not view Wan-soo as a true partner. His affair, which Wan-soo discovers early in their marriage, is emblematic of his emotional distance and his disregard for her feelings. It is not just a betrayal of trust, but also a signal that he sees her more as an accessory to his public life than as an individual with her own needs and desires. Despite his infidelity, Yongguk shows little remorse. He continues to treat Wan-soo with detachment, and when he realizes that she is aware of his affair, he does nothing to make amends. Instead, he expects her to continue playing her role as the dutiful wife, maintaining their public image. Yongguk's jealousy and possessiveness. Though Yongguk is emotionally absent, he still feels a sense of possessiveness over Wan-soo, especially as her relationship with her bodyguard, Seo Do-yoon, deepens. Despite his affair, Yongguk grows jealous of the closeness between Wan-soo and Do-yoon. This jealousy is not born out of love, but rather out of a sense of ownership. In Yongguk's eyes, Wan-soo is his, and the idea of her forming an emotional bond with another man threatens his control over her. Yongguk's possessiveness manifests in his increasing scrutiny of Wan-soo's actions and his attempts to assert control over her life. He becomes suspicious of her motivations and begins to view her not as a person but as a valuable asset that he cannot afford to lose. This possessiveness further strains their already fractured marriage, as Wan-soo becomes even more distant, longing for the emotional connection that Yongguk cannot provide. Yongguk's role in the Hwain Group's corruption. In addition to his personal failings as a husband, Yongguk is also deeply entangled in the corrupt dealings of the Hwain Group. As the heir to the conglomerate, he is involved in the company's expansion efforts, which include political manipulation, corporate greed, and unethical business practices. His focus on maintaining the power and influence of the Hwain Group blinds him to the moral and emotional consequences of his actions, both within his marriage and in the larger world. Yongguk's ruthless ambition puts Wan-soo in danger as she becomes increasingly aware of the Hwain Group's shady operations. His disregard for anything outside of his corporate interests reflects his inability to prioritize personal relationships over power and wealth. In the end, his obsession with maintaining control over his company, his marriage, and his public image leads to his downfall. The marriage as a symbol of power and sacrifice. The relationship between Wan-soo and Yongguk is not just a personal story, it also serves as a metaphor for the sacrifices people make in pursuit of wealth and status. Wan-soo sacrifices her dreams and personal happiness for financial security, while Yongguk sacrifices emotional intimacy and moral integrity in his pursuit of power. Their marriage is a union of convenience rather than love, a relationship built on unequal power dynamics that ultimately leads to their emotional estrangement. Wan-soo's story is one of personal awakening. She starts off as a woman who believes she can endure anything for the sake of her family, but over time she realizes that the price she has paid is too high. She comes to understand that her marriage to Yongguk is a prison, and her growing relationship with Do-yoon offers her a glimpse of the emotional connection and freedom she has been missing. For Yongguk, the marriage represents a different kind of failure. While he outwardly appears to have it all, wealth, power, and a beautiful wife, his inability to connect with Wan-soo or to recognize the value of personal relationships reveals the hollowness at the core of his life. His focus on maintaining control over the Hwain Group and his public image ultimately cost him his marriage and, symbolically, his humanity. Kim Yong-guk, as the heir to the Hwain Group, is at the center of the conglomerate's future. His character is defined by his ambition and focus on maintaining and expanding the company's power and influence. Raised with the expectation of taking over the family business, Yongguk shoulders immense pressure to uphold the family legacy. He is driven by a need to prove himself as a capable and ruthless leader, often at the expense of his personal relationships, including his marriage to Oh Wan-soo and his relationship with his brother. Yongguk's role as the face of Hwain Group. Yongguk is seen as the public face of the Hwain Group, representing its wealth, success, and dominance in the corporate world. His marriage to Wan-soo is part of this image, as she brings prestige and public admiration to the family through her status as a world-class golfer and later as a goodwill ambassador. However, beneath the surface of this polished exterior, Yongguk's personal and professional life is marked by deep insecurities and internal conflicts. He is under constant pressure to secure the future of the Hwain Group, expand its influence, and manage the various factions within the company. This pressure not only alienates him from his wife but also places him in a competitive, often adversarial, relationship with his brother. Kim Yong-guk's brother, the rival and outsider. Kim Yong-guk's brother, though not as publicly prominent as Yongguk, is a key player within the family and the company. He represents a rival power to Yongguk, both in terms of their family dynamics and their roles within the Hwain Group. Their relationship is characterized by tension, competition, and underlying resentment. The sibling rivalry. The rivalry between the two brothers is rooted in both personal and professional jealousy. While Yongguk is positioned as the rightful heir to the company, his brother harbors ambitions of his own. He resents the fact that Yongguk is the one who is always in the spotlight, seen as the future of the Hwain Group, while he is often sidelined. This resentment creates a toxic dynamic between them, with both brothers vying for control and influence within the company. Their rivalry is also shaped by their different personalities and approaches to business. While Yongguk is calculated and focused on maintaining his position at the top, his brother may take more aggressive, underhanded measures to assert his own power. This creates a dangerous tension between them, as each is willing to undermine the other to achieve their goals. Power struggles within the Hwain Group. The Hwain Group, as one of South Korea's most powerful conglomerates, is more than just a business. It is an empire with immense political and financial influence. The struggle for control of this empire drives much of the conflict between Yongguk and his brother. Their rivalry extends beyond personal jealousy and into the very structure of the company itself, where factions within the family and corporate leadership vie for power. Yongguk's brother is portrayed as someone who is constantly seeking opportunities to challenge his elder sibling's authority. He may not have the public visibility of Yongguk, but he is a savvy and cunning figure working behind the scenes. In some ways he represents a more dangerous threat to Yongguk because he operates in the shadows, leveraging alliances within the company to undermine his brother's leadership. Corporate politics and family betrayal. In a family as powerful and wealthy as the Kim family, personal relationships are often sacrificed in favor of business interests. The relationship between Yongguk and his brother is a prime example of this. Their interactions are shaped by corporate politics, with both brothers willing to betray one another if it means gaining the upper hand in the struggle for control of the Hwain Group. The tension between them is exacerbated by the internal power struggles within the company, as different factions align themselves with either Yongguk or his brother. These internal alliances add to the complexity of their relationship, as both brothers must navigate a minefield of corporate loyalty, manipulation, and betrayal. The brothers' role in Wan-soo's life. Wan-soo, as Yongguk's wife, becomes an unwitting participant in the power struggle between the two brothers. Though her marriage to Yongguk is already strained due to his infidelity and emotional neglect, the presence of his brother adds another layer of tension to her life. She becomes a symbol of power and prestige, someone that both brothers seek to control for their own purposes. Yongguk's brother may view Wan-soo as a weakness in Yongguk's life, something he can exploit to gain leverage over his sibling. The more emotionally distant and possessive Yongguk becomes, the more vulnerable Wan-soo is to the manipulations of those around her, including her brother-in-law. She finds herself trapped not only in a loveless marriage but also in a dangerous web of corporate politics and family rivalry. Themes of loyalty and betrayal. The relationship between Yongguk and his brother embodies one of the central themes of Red Swan, the tension between loyalty to family and the desire for personal power. Both brothers are ostensibly bound by family loyalty, yet their rivalry reveals how fragile this bond can be when wealth and power are at stake. Yongguk, despite his public image, is willing to sacrifice emotional relationships, including his marriage to Wan-soo, for the sake of maintaining control over the Hwain Group. His loyalty to the family business often overrides any sense of personal loyalty to his wife or even to his brother. Yongguk's brother, in turn, feels justified in betraying his elder sibling because of the perceived injustices and slights he has endured throughout their lives. His desire to usurp Yongguk's position within the company is motivated by both personal ambition and a deep-seated resentment toward the favoritism shown to his brother. This dynamic of loyalty and betrayal is mirrored in other relationships throughout the film, including Wan-soo's growing emotional attachment to Seo Do-yoon, which further destabilizes her already fragile marriage to Yongguk. From an early age, Kim Yong-guk has been groomed to take over the family business, and much of this preparation is due to his mother's influence. She is a powerful matriarch representing the legacy of the Hwain Group, and she instills in Yongguk a deep sense of duty and responsibility. For his mother, family and business are inseparable, and she expects nothing less than complete devotion from her son. Yongguk's sense of obligation. Yongguk's sense of obligation to his mother is central to his character. He is not just her son, but also the heir to the vast Hwain Empire, a role that carries immense pressure. His mother's expectations drive much of his decision-making, particularly in terms of how he manages the company and his marriage to Oh Wan-soo. Throughout his life, Yongguk has sought to live up to the image of the perfect son and leader that his mother envisions. This sense of duty, however, comes at a personal cost. Yongguk's relationship with his mother is marked by a lack of emotional warmth, as her focus is more on the survival and growth of the family's corporate empire than on her son's happiness or personal fulfillment. As a result, Yongguk is emotionally stunted, unable to form deep connections with those around him, including his wife. His mother's high standards and the constant pressure to maintain the family's legacy leave him feeling isolated and burdened. The matriarch of the Hwain Group. Yongguk's mother is not just a figurehead. She is actively involved in the company's operations and wields considerable power within both the family and the business. She is portrayed as a cold, calculating woman who values the success of the Hwain Group above all else. Her primary concern is ensuring that the family maintains its wealth and influence, and she sees Yongguk as the key to achieving that goal. A ruthless visionary. Yongguk's mother is a woman with a vision for the Hwain Group's future, and she expects her son to fulfill that vision. She is willing to make difficult decisions and sacrifices to ensure the company's continued dominance, and she expects Yongguk to follow suit. Her approach to business is ruthless, and she instills this mentality in her son. She teaches him that emotions have no place in the corporate world and that loyalty to the family business must come before personal desires. Her influence on Yongguk is evident in his cold, detached demeanor. Much like his mother, Yongguk prioritizes power and control over emotional connections. This detachment is mirrored in his marriage to Wan-soo, where he views his wife more as a strategic asset than as a partner. His mother's influence is so strong that it prevents him from forming genuine, heartfelt relationships, reinforcing his role as a corporate leader rather than a husband. Controlling the family legacy. The matriarch's control over her son extends beyond business decisions. She also plays a role in shaping his personal life, particularly his marriage to Wan-soo. From her perspective, Yongguk's marriage is another strategic move designed to strengthen the family's public image and enhance the prestige of the Hwain Group. Wan-soo, as a world-renowned golfer, brings respectability and fame to the family, and this suits the matriarch's vision of the perfect union. However, while she may have orchestrated the marriage for its public benefits, the matriarch is indifferent to the emotional needs of both her son and daughter-in-law. Her primary concern is how the marriage reflects on the family and the company. She expects Wan-soo to fulfill her role as a trophy wife, adding to the image of the powerful, successful Hwain Group. Tension between mother and son. Despite the outward appearance of loyalty and duty, there is a growing tension between Yongguk and his mother. Yongguk, though obedient, begins to feel suffocated by the expectations placed upon him. The pressure to live up to his mother's vision of perfection weighs heavily on him, and over time, it becomes clear that he is struggling to meet her standards. Yongguk's emotional repression. Yongguk's emotional repression, which stems largely from his mother's influence, is a defining feature of his character. He has been taught to suppress his feelings in favor of duty, and this creates an internal conflict as he struggles to balance his personal desires with the demands of the Hwain Group. His mother's relentless focus on the company and her disregard for emotional well-being leave him emotionally adrift, unsure of how to navigate his personal life. This repression is particularly evident in his marriage. Yongguk's inability to connect with Wan-soo on an emotional level is, in part, a result of his upbringing. His mother's teachings have led him to prioritize appearances and power over personal happiness, and he is unable to break free from the role he has been assigned as the family's heir. Growing resentment. As the pressure from his mother mounts, Yongguk begins to harbor a quiet resentment toward her. While he continues to fulfill his duties, he feels trapped by the expectations placed upon him. His mother's constant interference in both his professional and personal life leaves little room for him to make decisions for himself. This growing resentment is exacerbated by the fact that his mother shows little regard for his feelings or well-being, viewing him primarily as a tool to further the family's ambitions. Though Yongguk never openly defies his mother, his emotional turmoil becomes increasingly apparent as the film progresses. The tension between them simmers beneath the surface, manifesting in Yongguk's cold and detached behavior toward those around him, particularly Wan-soo. His mother's control over him is so strong that he finds it nearly impossible to assert his own identity or pursue his own desires. The matriarch's role in the family's downfall. As the story of Red Swan unfolds, the matriarch's influence on both her son and the Hwain Group plays a central role in the family's eventual downfall. Her ruthless pursuit of power and control blinds her to the emotional and ethical consequences of her actions. She is so focused on maintaining the family's corporate empire that she overlooks the personal toll it takes on her son, her daughter-in-law, and the family as a whole. The costs of ambition. The matriarch's ambition for the Hwain Group leads her to make increasingly questionable decisions, both in business and in her personal relationships. Her unwillingness to acknowledge the emotional needs of her family creates a fractured and dysfunctional dynamic, particularly between Yongguk and Wan-soo. Her emphasis on appearances and power ultimately proves to be the family's undoing, as the cracks in their relationships grow wider and more difficult to ignore. A cold legacy. By the end of the film, it becomes clear that the matriarch's legacy is one of emotional coldness and manipulation. Though she may have succeeded in maintaining the Hwain Group's power, she has failed to create a family built on love, trust, and mutual respect. Yongguk, in particular, is left emotionally crippled by his mother's influence, unable to form genuine connections or find fulfillment outside of the corporate world. This emotional void contributes to his downfall and the unraveling of the family. Red Swan concludes with a dramatic and reflective ending, where Wan-soo, having faced betrayal and danger, emerges as a stronger, more independent woman. She reclaims control of her life, leaving behind the toxic marriage and the corporate world that once held her captive. Her relationship with Do-yoon remains uncertain, as the two share a final, bittersweet moment of understanding before parting ways. The film's closing scenes depict Wan-soo walking alone on a golf course, symbolizing her return to the sport that first gave her hope and freedom. The peaceful landscape contrasts with the turbulence of her life, offering a sense of closure and a new beginning.